Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Some more transfer news for you today, and of course the big news that's just broken this morning is that apparently Naby Keita wants to leave RB Leipzig. This is according to the apparently respected Bundesliga journalist Raphael Honigstein, who broke this news on Twitter. Apparently he wants out of RB Leipzig, he wants to move away. Liverpool are very much in his mind as being one of the clubs that he'd quite like to go to. Obviously at the moment Liverpool seem to be the only club who have got some serious interest in Naby Keita. But obviously the big downside to this is that RB Leipzig have also set a pretty hefty price tag on Naby Keita, and that is 80 million euros, which works out pretty much at around 70 million pounds, which, if you remember in the last video when I was talking about Southampton commanding the same fee for Virgil van Dijk, is a hell of a lot of money for a footballer. And if you ask me, you have to be very sure that you want a player if you want to pay 70 million pounds for them. But obviously the main reason that RB Leipzig have set this very big price tag on him is that they don't really have any interest in selling him at the moment. Now they've got Champions League football, there's no real motivation to sell any of their big players. They don't really need financially to get rid of any players. They're fairly well off in terms of money. So it looks like this fee of £70 million, the only reason they really set that there is because they think that that'll be enough to deter Liverpool and just make them give up on signing Naby Keita and start looking elsewhere for the kind of midfielder that they want this summer. So if you ask me, the best thing Liverpool can do here is just avoid backing down from negotiations now that RB Leipzig have set this huge price tag on him, because now that they've got this slightly bigger make weight in the deal that apparently Naby Keita does want to leave, the cards are starting to move into Liverpool's hand rather than RB Leipzig, because beforehand it looked like RB Leipzig had all the control over the situation. It wasn't clear whether or not Keita actually wanted to leave. They got Champions League football, so there was no real reason for him to move in favour of that. They had enough money, they don't need to raise the money, and it just generally looked like they were actually going to hold on to him. But if he does want to leave, and now that they have actually named a price rather than simply saying that there's no way he's for sale, it's starting to look like there may be a chance that Liverpool could get their foot in the door there. I'm not saying that we should just go in and say, look, yeah, we'll pay the £70 million, he's worth that much, because like I said, that's a lot of money for a player. And like with Mohamed Salah, when Roma were asking for a lot of money for him, we shouldn't just go in and say, yeah, we'll pay it. We need to actually negotiate and prove that we're a club that aren't just going to give in to people's demands. But I think it is important, as I was saying with the Mohamed Salah signing, to send out signals in this summer transfer window of the kind of club that Liverpool are going to be when negotiating transfers. And it's an important thing to show that you can't just put Liverpool off by naming big transfer fees, because it's obvious that that's what RB Leipzig think they're able to do by simply saying that Keita's worth £70 million. And the last thing we want to do is to start setting a trend where if Liverpool go in for top players that clubs don't necessarily want to sell, they think that all they have to do is slap a big price tag on him and Liverpool will back down. We need to show that we are capable of paying those big fees, and you can't just send Liverpool away that easily. As well as that, if big clubs are looking to sell off their top players and they're looking to get a lot of money for them, Liverpool also need a reputation as the kind of clubs that don't balk at big fees, because if clubs are looking to get big fees for their top players and they know that Liverpool aren't really interested in paying big money, then they're not going to come to us to see if we're interested in buying their players. So it's all about sending out a signal and making a statement and showing the world what kind of club we are in the transfer market when it comes to big fees. So like I said, for now the most important thing is to simply avoid being put on the back foot by this massive fee that RB Leipzig are trying to say that Naby Keita's worth. Keep in the conversation, keep those negotiations going, try and use the fact that he apparently wants out of RB Leipzig to turn the negotiations in our favour, and hopefully we can get this deal over the line at some point, because with today's news I think it is feasible that we could actually sign Naby Keita in this window if we play our cards right. Elsewhere, there hasn't really been much going on in the transfer window for Liverpool at the moment that's actually been in the press. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going on at the club. It does seem like things have tightened up security and leak-wise since the whole situation with Van Dijk. It seems like the club are avoiding leaking out stories of who their targets are, who they're interested in to the press. But there hasn't really been much going on. Apparently, we're not interested in Fawzi Ghoulam. I did mention him in the last video as there being a potential for, if Napoli want Alberto Moreno, there could be a swap deal going on where they give us Fawzi Ghoulam, who's currently their incumbent first choice left back. But apparently Liverpool aren't interested in that. There hasn't been much talk about the Moreno deal since Liverpool said that they were going to hold out for that £15 million deal. Apparently Swansea are interested as well, but they still haven't met that valuation, so negotiations haven't really gone anywhere yet. But yeah, we have apparently no interest in Fawzi Ghoulam. We don't really want to buy him, so it's starting to look like we may not be prioritising the left-back position, similar to last summer where a lot of people went in and said that left-back is probably the player that Liverpool need the most. A lot of people are still saying that this summer, but it looks like it's not really a priority for Jurgen Klopp at the moment. We've got players like Mohamed Salah. He's still interested in Naby Keita and still perhaps interested in Virgil van Dijk. So the whole left-back situation looks like it might have been shelved. I did see something quite interesting today, which might be of interest to Liverpool, which is that Chelsea are apparently looking at breaking their transfer record for Alex Sandro, the left-back from Juventus. Apparently they're looking to pay £61 million for him. So there's a possibility that Liverpool could maybe look into that and think about hijacking that deal or trying to force their way into the conversation over whether or not they might want to sign Alex Sandro. But if they're not interested in that, then they could also have a look at Marcos Alonso at Chelsea, because if Chelsea are bringing in a top quality left back in Alex Sandro, it does ask the questions of where their current left wing back Marcos Alonso is actually going to have a big role at the team going forward into next season. And if you ask me, I was a little bit annoyed that Liverpool hadn't signed Marcos Alonso last season. I hadn't heard much about him during the summer, but when he arrived for Chelsea and he was playing very well, he was contributing an awful lot to the attack, which is what Liverpool really need any new left back they sign to do. I wondered why Liverpool didn't really force their way into that and maybe have a look at Marcos Alonso as well. So if he does become available, if Chelsea are looking at more left backs during this window, then I see no reason why Liverpool can't at least register a little bit of interest in that, see what's going on, and maybe put in a bid for either Alex Sandro or Marcos Alonso. Elsewhere, apparently Barcelona have shelved their interest in Felipe Coutinho for now at least. Apparently they're focusing on bringing in Marco Verratti from PSG instead, which is obviously very good news for Liverpool. If you ask me, I wasn't too worried about Coutinho leaving in this window. He seems fairly adamant in a lot of interviews that he's going to be loyal to Liverpool. He wants to stay here. He did stuff like when he gave his friends loads of Liverpool kits, and that's a fairly strong sign that he's thinking of staying at the club beyond the end of this summer. So I wasn't really concerned about him leaving, but it's nice to know that Barcelona won't be trying to test our resolve and put in any bids anytime soon, because I think it is important in this transfer window, as much as we want to see lots of new transfers coming in, we want to see new faces at the club, to make sure that we do hold on to a lot of our other top quality players. We need to hold on to players like Coutinho and other players like Emre Can, who've had a bit of a fiasco with their contract in the past. Just making sure that we tie those players down, keep their futures going, and make sure that we still have a nice big top quality squad going into next season. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, why not give it a like? If you're new around here, why not hit subscribe and check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel in recent weeks. And I'll be back before you know it with more transfer news whenever anything happens. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well. And I'll see you in a bit. Bye for now.